Hi guys, here we are continuing our lecture series on irrigation water management. You can follow me on Instagram or Telegram to get notification related to our video lecture series. From today, I am going to give these questions with a new approach. So the approach is that I am going to present the questions with timer so that you have to answer the question within the time, and don't forget to write your score in the comment section. After the question and after the quiz, I am going to explain the questions in detail. Today we are going to continue our chapter, that is the plant water relationship chapter, and these 5 questions are main important highlights of the chapter, and within these chapters I will also cover other important sub points. So even if you are able to give the answers of this question, then continue watching this video, because while discussing these questions I am going to give some extra informations. These are important from exam point of view. So let's start it, and don't forget to write your score in the comment section. So now let's discuss all these questions. The first question is, soil plant atmospheric continuum is maintained as long as the atmospheric water potential is dash as compared to the soil water potential. So here the correct answer of this question is the atmospheric water potential should be lower as compared to soil water potential. Then what is this soil plant atmospheric continuum concept? This concept was given by Hoover, which says that water always moves. We know that water always moves through a water potential or water vapor pressure gradient. So he says that there is a gradient of water potential between soil water and the atmospheric water. Then according to Hoover, the soil water potential ranges between minus 0.1 to minus 20 bar, whereas the soil water in plant cells ranges between minus 5 bar to minus 50 bar, whereas the atmospheric water potential ranges between minus 100 to minus 2000 bar. So here we can see the soil water potential decreases as we move from soil water to atmospheric water. Okay, so it is the lowest one, and it is the highest one, and it is the lowest one, because the sign is in minus. So always water potential decreases as one moves from soil water to atmospheric water, as there is a gradient of water potential, and we know that water always moves from higher soil water potential to lower soil water potential. So in this case, water always moves from soil to the atmosphere, and this concept is known as soil plant atmospheric continuum. It means water moves from soil to the atmosphere through the plant. Okay, here plant acts as a medium of water transport between soil to atmosphere. So that's why it is known as soil plant atmospheric continuum. And this continuum will work till the atmospheric water potential is lesser as compared to the soil water potential. Okay, I think it is clear now. And we know that in plant, water is the source of 2 essential elements. Then what are those essential elements? So these 2 essential elements that is hydrogen and oxygen. So water is the source of these two essential elements in the plant. Okay, remember this thing. Then coming to the next question, that is a well-watered, slowly transferring plant absorbs water by dash absorption, while a rapidly transferring plant absorbs water by dash absorption. So there is absorption, means plant absorbs water through two processes. One is active absorption, another one is passive absorption. And this active and passive absorption was given by Rayner. Okay, so Rayner is the scientist who gave this concept, that is active absorption and passive absorption. Then what is active absorption? Active absorption is the absorption of water which occurs against the gradient. We know what is the gradient. Gradient is the higher water potential to lower water potential. Okay, whenever there is a higher water potential, then water will automatically move from higher water potential to lower water potential to maintain the equilibrium. But this active absorption is the process in which water can move from lower water potential to higher water potential, and this process is an energy consuming process. Okay, so active absorption process is the energy consuming process because the water is moving against the gradient, whereas this passive absorption is a natural one and it does not require any energy, and because it occurs along the gradient, it means the passive absorption occurs from higher water potential to lower water potential. Okay, then how this active absorption occurs? This active absorption occurs due to root pressure. Then what is root pressure? This root pressure is developed due to osmotic pressure plus metric pressure. What is osmotic pressure? What is metric pressure? And along with that, what is the cell water potential concept that we have already discussed in the last class? And if you have not watched that video lecture, I will give the link of that video lecture in the I button. Okay, so here the root pressure is developed due to osmotic pressure and metric pressure. Osmotic pressure is due to the solute concentration. The solute concentration in the root, when the root is actively metabolizing. Okay, when the root is active, at that stage solute concentration will be there in the root, and due to this solute concentration, osmotic pressure will be developed. And due to other matrix substances like protein, polysaccharides, the metric pressure will also be developed. These osmotic pressure and metric pressures will reduce the water potential in the plant root. As a result, the water will start moving from soil to the root. Water will start moving from soil to the root, and this process is the active absorption, and this active absorption occurs due to this actively growing root, which creates some root pressure. Okay, I think it is clear now. So here the question says that when a well-watered, slowly transpiring plant, it means that there is no transpiration pool, means water is not deficient inside the plant. Plant is slowly transpiring, it means there is no transpiration pool. So at this stage, passive absorption will be negligible, and most of the water will be absorbed through this active absorption only. So the well-watered, slowly transpiring plant will absorb the water through active absorption, whereas the rapidly transpiring plant will absorb through passive absorption, because rapidly transpiring plant has a gradient, that is the transpiration pool. Then what is this transpiration pool? This transpiration pool is due to the vapor pressure gradient between plant and the atmosphere. Okay, when the vapor pressure gradient, there is a vapor pressure gradient between plant and atmosphere, then transpiration will be more, means atmospheric vapor pressure is lesser, and inside the plant the water vapor pressure is higher. It means water will move from plant to atmosphere, and this process is known as transpiration. When this transpiration will occur, here the water vapor pressure of the plant will be reduced, and to maintain that, water will be moved from soil to the plant, and this is due to the transpirational pool. So the concept is very clear. If actively actively transpiring or rapidly transpiring, it means transpiration pool is there, it means the process is passive absorption. If transpiration pool is not there, then the only source of absorption is the root pressure, and root pressure is due to osmotic pressure and metric pressure, and this is known as active absorption. And if we see, then the contribution of active absorption is very less, that is less than 5%, and which is also considered as negligible. But the passive absorption contribution is more than 95%. So this is also an important question. Passive absorption contributes about 95% of water uptake, whereas active absorption contributes 5% of water uptake of the plant. Then what is the path of water movement inside the plant? So the path is, when this is, suppose this is the soil and this is the plant root. So water will be moved from soil to the epidermis of the plant root. So it will first go to the epidermis, then root cell cortex, then from cortex to xylem vessel of the vascular bundle. So this is the process, and water always moves through the xylem vessel. So this is all about water movement in the plant. Another factor that definitely affects the water movement in plant, or water movement from soil to plant, or we can say water uptake, is also affected by soil temperature. So it has been found that when the soil temperature is less than 20 degrees Celsius, it significantly reduces the crop water uptake, and especially in the warm season crops. Okay, so this is also very important question. In warm season crops, when the soil temperature is less than 20 degrees Celsius, then the crop water uptake is significantly affected. So remember this thing. Then coming to the next question, that is, in uniform soil profile with moist soil, all plants usually extract -% from the second quarter of design water extraction depth. Then what is this design water extraction depth? So design water extraction depth is the depth of soil from which plant requires most of its water requirement. Okay, so it is the depth from which plant requires most of its water requirement. So this is the design water extraction depth. So the design water extraction depth can be divided into 4 quarters. So suppose this is the soil and this is the plant, and we can divide the design water extraction depth into 4 equal parts. Suppose this is the first quarter, this is the second quarter, this is the third quarter, and this is the fourth quarter. And it has been found that this first quarter meets 40% of plant water requirement, whereas second quarter meets 30% of plant water requirement, third quarter meets 20% of plant water requirement, and fourth quarter meets 10% of plant water requirement. Okay, so this is the design moisture depth, design water extraction depth, and here the correct answer of this question will be 30%, because the second quarter, the question is asking about second quarter, and the second quarter contributes 30% of total plant water requirement. Then coming to the next question, that is, when 2 or more crops are grown together, the design depth of irrigation should be decided based on the crop having shallow root system, deeper root system, both crops should be considered, or none of these. The correct answer of this question is we should consider the shallow root system, because the crop having deeper root system is tolerant to moisture stress. So if we'll schedule our irrigation according to deeper root system, then shallow root system will be affected. Okay, this crop will be affected because shallow root system is not tolerant to soil moisture stress condition. But if we'll consider the shallow root system and we will schedule or we will apply the irrigation water based on this crop, then even if moisture stress is there for this crop can tolerate it, because deeper root system is tolerant to soil moisture stress condition. Now coming to the last question, that is, a drop of relative water content of a plant by 8 to 10% indicates very severe stress, moderate stress, or severe stress, or mild stress. So the correct answer of this question is it is mild stress. This is because the scientist, that is Sion, in 1973, he gave the classification of plant water stress based on relative water content and plant water potential. What is relative water content and what is plant water potential, that we have already discussed in the last class. So don't miss that video. Okay. So here the mild stress, if the relative water content is decreased by 8 to 10%, or the plant water potential or cell water potential is dropped by -5 to -6 bar, then the stress is mild stress. If the relative water content is dropped by 10 to 20%, or cell water potential is reduced by 12 to 15 -12 to -15 bar, then the stress is moderate. Then the stress is severe if the relative water content is more than 20%, or drop in relative water content is more than 20%, and drop in cell water potential is more than -15 bar. Okay, so this is the classification of plant water stress based on decrease or reduction in relative water content and plant water potential. Then another classification of plant water stress is also there. Here the classification of plant water stress based on the timing of stress between two successive irrigation. The water stress can be classified into two categories. The first category is diurnal stress, and the second category is cyclic water stress. So now we'll discuss what is diurnal stress and what is cyclic water stress. So diurnal stress, which occurs, the stress occurs at a particular point of time during the day, and the plant recovers during the night time. Okay, so during daytime the stress will be there, but at night time the plant can recover, and this stress is also known as diurnal stress, or also the stage of plant is known as temporary wilting or incipient wilting. And this occurs due to only the transpirational pool or transpirational loss of water. When the transpirational loss is maximum and plant is not absorbing that much of water from soil, then the evapotranspirational demand of water could not be met. So under this situation, plant will undergo stress, and that stress is known as temporary wilting or incipient wilting, and the stress is known as diurnal stress. And this diurnal stress varies according to the timing of the day, because it is dependent on transpiration, and transpiration varies according to the temperature, and temperature varies according to the timing of the day. For example, at morning hour, then the transpiration will be less because temperature is less. But during hottest part of the day, like 2 p.m., the temperature is higher. At that time, transpirational loss is also higher. Then plant may undergo diurnal stress. And during night time, as the transpiration is very less because the stomata may be closed, or the evapotranspiration demand of atmosphere also is very less, at that point of time the transpiration is less, the plant may recover from this temporary wilting or incipient wilting. Then the second type of stress is known as cyclic stress. And what is this cyclic stress? This cyclic stress occurs just after the irrigation. Suppose here we have given the first irrigation. So just after the first irrigation, the cyclic stress will start. Okay, maybe this is the amount of cyclic stress, and this cyclic stress progressively go on increasing. This cyclic stress will go on increasing with time, and this is the maximum just before the second irrigation. And when we'll apply the second irrigation, then this cyclic stress will become 0, and then this will go on increasing again. That is why this stress is known as cyclic stress. So a question can be asked that cyclic stress is maximum at which irrigation? It is maximum just before the second irrigation, the cyclic stress is the maximum, and just after the first irrigation, cyclic stress is minimum. I hope the cyclic stress is clear now. So this is all about plant water relationship. This is a very small chapter. I covered the chapter with these 5 important questions. So in this way, we'll cover the whole chapter of irrigation water management. So this is a new approach. So in this approach, I am going to ask you 5 or 10 questions with timer so that you can evaluate yourself. After that, I will discuss all these questions. Along with that, I will give some extra information so that the whole chapter will be covered. So if you like this kind of teaching, so don't forget to like the video. Along with you can give your suggestion in the comment section. So that is all about today, friends. Thank you for listening. Take care.